Oh, I want to tell you about my radon experiment. I've been meaning to measure radon in this basement office. It's a walkout basement, so it's comfortable. But I've been meaning to measure the radon for some time and haven't done it. Mostly because, well, I'm lazy. And two, there hasn't been a really good way to measure it. There is now. Airthings makes a radon detector that measures alpha particles directly, not one of the progeny of radon, such as polonium or bismuth or lead, and then inferring the radon level from that. No, this is measuring alpha particles directly. So we know we have a good measurement. And boy, was it scary. Initially, we found over 10 picocuries per liter in living space. Very high. Well, not unexpected, I suppose, but we hadn't been ventilating either. So let's see, why, if it's that high, why don't we try a different room? So we moved the detector into the mechanical room where, over the course of hours, the radon level dropped almost in half. Now, that doesn't make any sense. I thought the mechanical room would be the source of the radon and that it was filling the entire basement space. Not true, apparently. So what's different? Are there any holes in the floor in the living space? There are in the mechanical room. They're small. But I expected the radon to be higher in the mechanical room, not lower. So my hypothesis is that the smoke detector in the living space could be influencing this by emitting radon or alpha particles. That's what we're after. So I took the smoke detector down and left the detector, the alpha particle detector, the wave unit, right where it was and ventilated. Over the course of hours, radon levels dropped into a very safe green region and stayed that way for days. I did take a short excursion into the caution zone, but it came right back down on its own. Did it again the next day. And continued on a nice course here. You know, open a door or window and it drops into very safe, almost ambient levels of radon. So if we're going to keep this scientific, we first have to observe, which we've done. We've seen the radon levels are high and changing the location, it's different. We've hypothesized that perhaps the only difference here is that we've got a smoke detector, an ionization type smoke detector emitting radon at apparent high levels. So the next step is to experiment in the scientific method, and part of the experiment was to remove the detector. Now we put it back in, and you can see what happened. Right away, we're into the danger zone, and radon reached 5.6 picocuries per liter, at which point I said, that's enough. We know it's going right back where it was. And that's a fairly rapid rise. So, as an ABA comparison, let's take the smoke detector back out. And sure enough, the radon levels dropped and is nearly back down where it was before at 2.5 picocuries per liter. So, what does that tell me? The Airthings radon detector seems to be working well. And the reason I know that is because when I take it outside, the background levels are right where I expect it to be. The other thing that we can infer from this is probably the nice, safe smoke detectors that the EPA has been telling us for all these years will cause no harm, just might, because they've set levels of radon at a point where it's concentration over time. And at 2.7 picocuries per liter for 3 months, we have to be talking about remediation. quite expensive. Most everybody wants to suck air out from under your concrete, and that's going to solve the problem. Maybe. I don't know. The other thing is that perhaps that same agency is telling us that smoke detectors are harmless when the reverse may be true. Obviously, we don't have enough data here. All I know is that when I take my smoke detectors out, my radon levels drop into the safe range. Of course, I've been exposed to this for 30 some years, so who knows what kind of damage has already been done, if any. But let's put an end to it right now. I'm going to replace all my smoke detectors with photoelectric type rather than the ionization type. Whether or not it actually has caused any harm or has the potential for harm, I don't know. But we're certainly going to put an end to this because I'm sure I have an accurate radon detector. It's reporting properly, and I have a history of the data. So I'm certain that it's performing well, and we have a solution that doesn't involve $2,000 worth of vacuum and PVC piping. So it's great solution and cheap.